Good evening, everybody. Hello and welcome along to your, I was going to say Friday. That would be nice. Monday night Rabble here on the Rangers Rabble podcast. I say it would be nice because then we'd be one game closer and we would already know the result. And sorry, I'm waffling. I'm waffling already, and we're 40 seconds in. Hello, everybody, and welcome. Tonight, I am joined by Brian. Brian, I've already spoke to you, so just you sit there and stay quiet. And I'm also joined by Stuart. Stuart, how are you?
Hello, everyone. Hello, Martin. Hello, Brian. Glad to be here.
You're not really. You're just.
Well, you said we've not got much to talk about, and then after 30 seconds, we went, well, there's actually quite a lot to talk about, so let's go on with
it. There is actually quite a lot to talk about. Brian, you may speak now. How are you?
Very good, very good. Off a rather hotly discussed Rangers women's pod. Lots of grumps and groans, things not working out, the formations, the team selections. So yeah, there was a lot discussed, and I think a lot of people were quite happy to get things off their chest.
Yeah, it's not looking great for the Rangers women right now. But you've just probably spoke about that for about 50 odd minutes, so we will park that chat there.
Can I just say, by the way, I got your "Who Am I" with the number of appearances today.
How did you get that? Just for the appearances, Stuart?
Just I don't know. Well, I don't know. The name came into my head, and then when you said 11, including lots of League Cups and stuff like that, then it came straight away. Normally I'm rubbish at it, but actually today I would have been first.
Well, I'm down 11-1 to the comments on the Who Am I?
Although, see your second clue, that was you gave it away.
I know, but I see the problem is I don't want to make it. I'm a nice guy, Stuart, so I don't want to make it too easy, right? But I also don't want to make it too difficult so folk just can't get it. Because I could do that. I could just say, come on here and say, I played for Rangers, who am I? And then just decide that.
You could do that.
Yeah, I could actually. I could do that. That's what I'm going to do tonight, folks. Here's a wee quick who am I for you. I played for Rangers between 1920 and 2024. Who am I? If anybody gets it, they get a Rabble Christmas tree. So there we go. I actually thought we would start off tonight, Stuart. Something I completely forgot about that you mentioned, so I'll give you first say on it. Big rumours coming out the club that both Alex Lowry and Adam Devine have been told that they can go and find new clubs. They are now surplus to requirements at the football club. Not a massive shock, Stuart. By the way, see, whenever I say your name, sometimes I say Stuart. I don't know why my voice goes so high. But
here they are. You can think about that, right? I'll get on with answering your question. No, it doesn't come as a huge shock. I think who's reporting it, that probably tells you that it's true.
Who reported it, by the way? I've got no idea.
Well, I think the Rangers Review were out, kind of reporting it. Chris Jack and stuff like that. I think were out. So I think obviously the club have probably made that noise.
Just for reference, right? I don't like to post stuff that I hear, but I heard about that 2 months ago, and I thought to myself, I'm not going to put it out there because it's not. It's unsubstantiated is the word I want.
Yeah. With both of them out of contract next summer as well, I believe, and nowhere to be seen at the moment, are they? And it's not even European games. We've got to fill that bench to get our Scottish quota up. They're nowhere. They're not even there. And you made a point just before we came on air, Martin, about the fact that Lowry, a player of that talent, not even in the B team for the the Glasgow Cup game last week. So whatever's happened there, you almost get a sense that there's a wee bit more than just Clement's not picking them because he doesn't think that they're good enough for Rangers. Just for them to completely drop out of the picture, it's a shame. We want young players to be able to come through at Rangers. I think we all had really high hopes, particularly for Lowry, and for whatever reason, it's just not happened. I think we all thought that move to Hearts, that loan would have been an opportunity for him to kick on, get some much needed game time and regular game time. I know he had injuries, but again, he was kind of in and out of the team. And again, I think if they'd really been impressed by what they'd seen, maybe they would have came back in again the summer there and tried to have taken him back. It didn't happen. Adam Devine, I think, did okay when he came in. I don't think I was ever convinced that he was going to be Rangers right back. So no, let's say it's a pity, but I'm not overly surprised by it. But I think, and the manager mentioned, I think in his presser before the game at the weekend, that he still sees, or he still feels that there's a massive gap between that B level and what he's expecting in the first team. So
yeah, he did say that.
and that includes your likes of your Bailey Rices and even Zach Lovelace and stuff.
Yeah, it does. You're 100% right. The manager's pretty much made it clear, isn't he, that he doesn't believe. And I disagree with him because I think there's a couple of players in there who do have real talent. But what do I know? I'm just a fat guy who talks about Rangers, to be honest. Andrew Lamb, that's really harsh. Get rid of Stewart. I mean, contractually, I can't afford to. That's a joke, by the way, in case HMRC are watching. That's a joke. But contractually, I can't afford to get rid of Stewart. I think that's quite harsh. I'd probably get rid of Brian before.
Glad to see my fans are on tonight. Anyway, that's good. Merry Christmas, Andrew.
see the day that we get fans. That's a sad day when we get fans. I suppose, Brian, it's just like Lowry was one of those who was touted, wasn't he? As this is a next kind of Billy Gilmore type-ish player who's going to be good enough to come through into the first team, and he had a couple of opportunities, didn't have a massive chance. But it's another one that's sad to see somebody with a reputation just couldn't quite make it. And before you answer, Andrew Lamb has compounded the get rid of Stewart by talking about Lowry and Devine and then calling me a clown. I mean, Andrew, that's really, really harsh, man. Come on.
Get rid of Stewart, calling Martin a clown. Gee whiz.
He's on one, right?
You're next.
I'm next. Yeah, I'll be next. Absolutely. Yeah, it is. This Lowry situation is a total shame. A young guy that was touted for good, big things when he was a young kid, and when you've seen him finally breaking into the first team squad, you thought, right, that's another youngster through the books. Hopefully he'll stay for a wee while and we'll make, maybe he'll go on, make us a bit of money, a move down south or abroad. But for one reason or another, it just hasn't worked out for the lad, and it's a shame. It really is. Nobody wants to see this. We all like to see our youngsters do well and progress through the team and make a name for themselves. It's just a really sad state of affairs, and as I say, we're all guessing and surmising what's happened to him. But at the end of the day, it just hasn't worked out for him. Devine, he played in that game we won up at Pittodrie 3-2 at left back, believe it or not. So I think there was possibly something in him, but
Devine's a bit of a kicking the stones for me, Brian, if I'm being honest, because you know how you get those young players that come through and you maybe have a look at them and you think, all right, it's just another young player. I don't know. I just saw something in Devine that I thought, you know what, this boy really does have potential.
That's what I'm saying. He had pace and he liked a tackle. He could dig in there. He showed his versatility by being able to play left back up at Pittodrie. Not an easy place to play. And he went in there and played left back quite well. So yeah, I'm kind of surprised with that one as well. As I say, another youngster that we all hoped would do well and progress, but unfortunately for both of them, it just hasn't happened, and it's a shame. It really is, because as I say, all the fans want to see the youngsters come through the team and progress and make a name for themselves, and it's just a shame that both of them haven't really managed to do it.
I know we could have a conversation, Stuart, about the youth and about the youth that come through, and we could have it for an hour, no problem. But again, I don't know. Does Clermont have a point that the young players in Scotland, especially the young players that are coming through the Rangers Youth Academy, we're just not breeding good enough players?
I think so. Yeah. I mean, I know you'll be talking about a certain player, that you never shut up about. I think the manager has made it very clear that I think he is he a bit unhappy or a bit disgruntled with what he's seen the academy produce and the level that they're at. I said before in a pod, I don't believe that we've just been so unlucky with a succession of managers that they don't want to play any youth in our team. We've seen that Clement has had a history of doing that. It's at Bruges, etc. So it would be strange that he would just come to Rangers, and if there was talent there that he thought was ready to go into the first team, that he would decide not to do it. So I think there are players there with talent. It's about making that step up, and that's what he keeps talking about. And I think, I'd love to have sat in one of these discussions that he said that they've had over the course of the year about where the academy's going and how they see that evolving. How do we get players that are then capable of making that jump? Is that because we want to loan them out? The B team isn't the right area for them because, quite frankly, they don't get to play many games or competitive games. So, should we be looking at loaning them out? I just don't. I'm not convinced that like I say, we've just had a succession of managers who are not willing to give youth a chance if they thought they were good enough. So clearly the managers just feels there's a gap. And I would say across the city, it's not as if their team is filled with kids from your youth academy that's came through. So I don't think it's just a Rangers problem, Martin.
Well, Brian, you're on mute. But Brian private messaged me while you were talking, Stuart. He went, "I'm going to come in after Stuart. I've got something I want to say," and then he's on mute. It's just falling apart.
The very fact that our youth team, our B team, virtually don't have a league to play in. They've got nowhere to play regular games. There's nothing. There's not really anywhere they can get sort of regular sort of game time playing for Rangers. To me, that's a big problem for the B team, isn't it? There's no regular games for them. They barely play double figure games per season.
And I mean, by the way, we're spending a lot of money on it, Martin. A lot of money on that academy. And yes, we've had a Patterson, etc. But we should be seeing at least one every 2 years, maybe. That is coming through. We're not seeing it. Some of these kids are getting paid, from what I've heard, a lot of money. Yeah, but it's fine. That's Rangers are willing to pay them that, but we've got to then see some end product at the end of it.
Yeah, but when have we ever, Stuart, right? And we talk about no, Andrew, you were absolutely right. I'm a clown. Don't worry about it. We talk about the player trading model and bringing through youth, and we talk about youth players in the sense of, right, when they come through, we'll get 15, 16, 17 million for them, right? That's one end of the scale. When have we ever sold a player for a couple of $100,000 that's came through the youth? Could you imagine 5 or 6 players at a couple of $100,000? And we never ever, we don't even do that.
I think we actually, so I don't think that even just it's just on the youth. Actually, I think player trading, yes, if you can do that, you can bring in somebody, like a Bassey and then sell them for that amount of money. Brilliant. But actually, if you buy someone for 2 and you sell them for 5, that's player trading, because then you can use, and then hopefully you're building up that kitty that you're no longer in the £2 million market. You might be able to go to the £3-4 million market, and then actually so player trading doesn't always have to be those huge numbers that we've seen. But yes, you're right. A Leon King, for example, I'm not sure what Leon King's doing. I don't know I've seen actually online, I think he's moved agencies, I think, last week. And I wonder if there's something, because I always remember, well, what's his agent doing here? How's he being advised? Because he's at a stage where he needs to stop playing in Glasgow Cup finals. He needs to be playing regular football and nailing down a position, whether that's centre half, whether that's a holding midfielder, right back, whatever it may well be. And if that means that he needs to move away from Rangers, then so be it. And if that means that Rangers get some money in for him, great. And that won't be millions and millions of pounds. It could be in the hundreds of thousands you're talking, but at least it's something back for a lot of time and a lot of effort that we've put into trying to develop that player.
But we don't even seem to look for that though, Stuart. That's the thing. It's not even as if that's an option.
Yeah, I agree with you. And and it's the whole makeup of that section of, I think somebody put it in the comments, does this not show that kind of youth and the B team, does it need a complete shake-up? Yeah, I think it really, because whatever's happening at the moment isn't quite working. And we need to get into, I think the manager believes that somebody of 18 should be able to come in and play for Rangers. I think we're gone by the days where 21, 22 is seen as young. I think actually, plenty of teams are playing 18, 19-year-olds for whatever reason, whether it's physical attributes, technical attributes, the manager just feels that there's a gap there to be able to pitch them into the first team.
Well, 21, 22, you should have at least, 100, 150 appearances under your belt at first team level. Realistically, nowadays, you should at least.
But then what role do the authorities play in this, though? They're the ones that bind the reserve league and bind all this. Surely they're actually failing the youth of Scottish football by not supplying or providing a platform for them to play on. They've got a lot to answer for, I would say.
In my opinion, I do not think that anybody, well, that's not true. There'll be some people that do, but the head people at the SFA, the SPFL, the SFL, whatever you want to call it, don't care. As long as they're making their wages, as long as they're making enough to sustain the SFA, there's no evidence, Stuart, that the SFA or the SPFL or whatever have ever cared about youth football or football in general in Scotland.
Well, they should, because they should have a national manager knocking their door down every day saying, what are we doing with regards to youth development? Because ultimately, these guys in their suits, what do they love? Nothing more. They love a jolly. They loved a jolly to a foreign country, because Scotland might have managed to get to a major tournament. And if you can actually invest in youth development and start, and we've seen, you look at Ben Doak and stuff like that, who's, has really lit it up when he's come into that Scotland squad. There is some talent there, but what are they doing? They play a vital role. And if you listen to what's his name, the SFA guy, he was out talking.
Doncaster.
No, the other one.
Oh, Maxwell.
He was talking. My focus is on about growing the game in this country. Well, what are you doing exactly to do that? As Brian quite rightly points out, where you get to a certain age, and if you're not quite ready to make the jump into the first team, then what have you got? You've got your own club having to scramble around to say, right, can we get a friendly with Everton or Chelsea, or maybe every now and then a team further afield? Not good enough.
No, it's not good enough. It's not good enough. On the subject of money, Brian, we'll put the screenshot into the group chat. The ticket prices for the Fraserburgh game are out. Now, every football club's a business now. They need to make money. I completely understand that, Brian, right? But 20 quid for an adult ticket to go and watch Rangers against Fraserburgh, that to me just seems mental. I mean, I don't know what price you could make it to make it financially viable for the club, right? And of course, Fraserburgh have got to make a bit out of it as well, right? But what, you couldn't do 11, 12 quid for an adult ticket and fill the stadium?
I mean, Fraserburgh's a team that I know reasonably well because obviously they play in the same league as Forest in the Highland League. So we've got to bear in mind this is a non-league team, right? A non-league team. 20 quid for me is far, far too much. This is a game where you should be, I wouldn't say breaking even for the game because you obviously need to make money, but make it as low as possible for fans to take their wee ones, because let's be honest, there's a lot of people who side won't go to this game purely because it's a Highland League team, and they'll just think, oh well, I'm not going because it's Highland League team.
Well,
So
Brian, it's £12 for kids and £15 for concessions. To me,
that's just ridiculous.
That's just too much.
Yeah, I mean, at the very most, a kid should be a fiver at most. You know what I mean? A couple, 250, something like that. But 20 quid for an adult. I mean, as I said before, this is a Highland League team. They're not playing even a league team. It should be a lot lower, and encouraging people to, take their kids along and get in and fill the place for because let's be honest, it'd be nice if we could show that we could fill the stadium despite it being a Highland League team. It'd be very good. But I'm afraid when it's 20 quid, there's a lot of people just going to turn around and go, you know what, I'm not paying 20 quid for a Highland League team. I'm sorry. And you can't sort of fault them for that, because it's not going to be long after Christmas and New Year. So January's a tight month as it is, or February is it? Is it February we're playing them, or January?
January it is. Yeah, January.
So you're not long off Christmas and New Year. January is always a hazardly sort of quiet month because everybody's skint from Christmas and New Year and overexpending and spending too much. So I think the club have got this completely wrong. I think they should have been at least half of what they were.
By the way, Brian, actually, I'm going to interject. Fancy word. Stuart loves it. I'm going to read out all the games that we've got in January. Right? I didn't realise it was as many. Right? So Celtic on the 2nd, Hibs away in the 5th, Dundee away in the 9th, St Johnstone at home on the 12th, Aberdeen at home on the 15th, and then Fraserburgh on the 19th, Man U away on the 23rd, Dundee United away on the 26th, and USG at home on the 30th. So, Stuart, 9 games in January. Plenty of opportunity for the club to make money with being in Europe, and there's a few home games in there, including an Old Firm home game. I do not, and maybe you can explain, but I do not understand when you've got that many home games in January. You're asking supporters to continuously, obviously there's season tickets, etc., but you're asking supporters to continuously put their hand in their pockets, go to Edmiston House, get a coffee, take your kids, go into the shop, get a bite to eat at half time from the food it's food in it. And you're still going to charge people £20 for a non-league team at Ibrox?
Yeah, look, first I totally agree. When I seen the email and I don't get the choice, it'll just come straight out my account in CCS, so it'll straight out. And I thought it was £20. I do wonder, and I don't know the answer to this, I do wonder how much Fraserburgh play a part in discussions, because they'll get a 50% of the gate receipt in a cup. So Fraserburgh might have been trying to nudge it up in terms of so that they try and maximise. It is, I think the other thing to factor in why it's slightly surprising that it's that high is that this game's on BBC. So there's no, attempting. I think it was already going to be a fairly low crowd as it is, regardless of the fact whether people think, well, Rangers should easily take care of Fraserburgh. The game's on the Beeb as well. So, I think they'll struggle with that when it should be a perfect opportunity to say, do you know what? I've been thinking about taking my kids to a game. They're maybe a bit young, but actually the subway might be quite quiet. Yeah, there's plenty of space. It might just be a nice way of introducing them to the football. But yeah, they might then look at those prices and say, well, actually, that's a bit steep. But I just have a wee niggle. I just wonder if Fraserburgh have a wee input in terms of the ticket pricing on that. And, there are still costs. That'll still need to be the police and stewarding and all that. That'll still need to go into putting it on. But yeah, £20, 15, even 12. Could we have done something kids as a fiver? Something.
Well, even somebody put it in the comments earlier and says £20 for adults, and then if you've got a kid, it goes free.
Free, yeah, something.
He or she goes free or something.
Because, like I say, with it being on BBC, people, and that number of games as well that you've just read out, there will be a wee bit of fatigue as well. And what's the one game that people will go, I'll give that a miss?
It's going to be Fraserburgh.
It'll be the Fraserburgh one. So what you've then got to do is, well, okay, a lot of season tickets might not make that journey, but what we want to do is then make sure that somebody else takes their seat. I'm not convinced you'll get that at that price.
I understand, Brian, £20 isn't what £20 used to be. Like, see, when I was away, like, if you seen a £20 note, you genuinely thought you'd won the lottery, right? That's how much £20 was worth back in the 90s.
Yeah.
I get £20 nowadays is not a great deal of money. But there's a lot of people, especially like you said, after Christmas, struggling, really financially struggling. They still want to support the team. Like Stuart said, there'll be plenty of people who want. I mean, can you imagine you're a mum or a dad and you've got 2 or 3 kids and you want to take them to Ibrox? No, that's going to be costing you in excess of like 50 odd quid just to take you and the kids. It's not like, and somebody's put the comment in, and I'm going to bring it up. I think I started it. No, I didn't start it. Damn it. Oh, there it's there. From Lockeye as well. I mean, you've got to think of the team that I've just read out all the games that we're playing in January. There is no way in hell that we put out Igamane, Tav, Suter, Balogun, Butland, Bayrami, Cherney. None of them are playing. So it's going to be full of a B team. And I'm pretty sure the B team actually annihilated Fraserburgh this season, if memory serves me right. So you're not getting, the stars of the team. So you shouldn't be paying. I mean, what's a price for a league ticket now? £28, something like that.
Maybe a bit more than that, by the way, depending on where you are. I think you're into the 30s.
Yeah, well, it depends where you are. I always go for the cheapest one, Stuart.
Of course. Right.
But so basically, you're only taking £8 off an SPFL game, Brian.
Yeah.
Play against a non-league team.
It's a massive own goal for the club, and as a high the view says, the B team beat Fraserburgh not long ago. So, and that was up at Fraserburgh. So, they beat them in their own patch. So, it'd be something like buy one kid's ticket and the next one goes free. Something like that, encourage. Because as you say, you're not going to get, I would suggest, like the vast majority of that team, that play against Fraserburgh won't be the stars that normally play week in, week out. Because obviously the manager will be looking at games ahead and thinking, right, I don't really need to play them against Fraserburgh. I can play this.
For me, that's the big one. Like a 10p Fredo is not like 20 pence. I think it's actually more than 20 pence. Do you ever remember, and I'm going right off script here, right, but I don't care. Do you ever remember Taz bars?
Yes.
Yeah, and now they rebranded it as like Fredo with caramel, right? But they didn't put as much caramel in the Fredos, but they did in the Taz bar. I love the Taz bar. Sorry, Brian, carry on. It just came into my head there. This is called the Rangers Rabble, folks, just so you all know.
But yeah, as I say, like the tickets, the kids' tickets, for example, buy one goes free. Something like that, because as Stuart said, you're not going to get the regular season ticket holders going because they'll probably look at that and go, nah, that's one game I could miss. There's a lot of other games in that sort of month that I could turn around and I could miss, no bother. And the easiest one to pick is Fraserburgh because it's a high league team. Now to charge £20, if it's a dad and say it's 2 parents and 2 kids, for example, right? There's 40 quid for the adults and £10 for the kids, so that's 60 quid.
Yeah,
that's a family of 4,
and it's at 2:15 on a Sunday.
Yeah, and you're not taking a kid or kids to Ibrox and telling them no, you can't go to a kiosk and get.
You can't go into Edmiston House. You can't go a walk around the shop. You can't.
I want to get my. I don't know. They do Facebook.
The museum.
I want a burger, a hot dog, a juice, crisps. That you're £100. And I think we comment here £106 it was there for Saturday. Well, probably with all the other stuff that the gentleman had to buy, and do they want a scarf? Do they want you can imagine why parents would go, actually, I'd love to take them. We could probably just do the ticket price, but how could you say no at that point? And we just can't do that. I'm surprised. It'll be interesting to see whether or not the new CEO gets, maybe asked about that, or what his method of communicating with the fans is going to be. I know they started to do those events at Edmiston House that you could go, is that something that's going to continue? Because I dare say that'll be something that will get brought up in terms of the club got that massively wrong. If you remember back with the Europa League or Champions League prices, Champions League, wasn't it? We were the top end, and they admitted, we got that. Hold their hands. It looks as if they've just got this wrong as well.
It does. It really, really does. I have to say, I have never seen a chomp cost 40 pence. That's true.
40p chomp. Wow.
Jeez, oh. There's
I
not
don't
much
know,
of a chomp, is there?
That sounds a bit made up to me.
You calling Alan
40
Neil's
pence chomp?
integrity into question, are you?
Yeah, I mean, he's a channel member. So
Is that a Waitrose chomp?
it must be a Waitrose chomp. Eh?
Yeah.
Mad Alan Neil member can afford to shop at Waitrose. Fair play to him. Jim Cunningham saying a ticket for the Titanic was under £1. That obviously that had used to. You were loving that comment there.
There you go.
Yeah, and I mean, Aldo's saying it's 30 pence for a chomp, which is still ridiculous. But I mean, I don't know why Alan's paying. It must be Waitrose. It's got to be Waitrose for 40 pence for a chomp, isn't it?
Got to be.
By the way, how much bigger we could do chocolate all night, right? I don't care. How much bigger was a marathon than a Snickers?
Very.
I think just a Mars bar in general used to be bigger than it is nowadays.
Mars bars are nothing, right? A marathon or a Snickers is like the top chocolate.
I agree with that. A Snickers is my favourite chocolate bar as well.
It's not your typical chomp. It's
an M&S chomp.
Oh, brilliant. I like that.
Oh, God, I love it.
Love it.
Oh, I'm so bad. I love jokes. I don't care. I really don't care. Wilf apparently survived the Titanic. That's a poor joke. That's a poor joke.
He was on it going to a Rangers game. That's for
I actually prefer London's comment. Wilf built the Titanic. There you go.
I like spiders for your. Remember spiders?
What?
Spiders.
Oh,
you remember those? No.
Is that a Chupka thing?
It was like a Twix, but just chocolate, nothing else in it.
A twirl.
Yeah, the whisper.
And there was like a wheel shape in the middle of the spider.
A flake?
No, it was just a chocolate bar.
No, Brian, I think you've been lied to, mate. I'm not gonna
Google it.
I don't want to Google it just in case this is one of the tricks that you pull and something dodgy pops up.
Spider.
Brian's gone full Biden. Brian's gone full Biden. I've never heard it.
There you go.
Oh, there you go.
There you go.
Spyro was good.
Spyro was good. Yeah.
Never heard of that.
But his name's Odd Bob and his name's Krychek. So Brian, pick your friends carefully. Although channel member William does say definitely remember them. I have no clue what you're talking about. Shall we get back to talking some football?
Yeah,
we could be here all night talking.
By the way, I had a steak pie at Ibrox on Saturday. It was lovely, really good. I was
like one from inside the ground.
I was genuinely surprised. Thought that was actually really tasty. Long may that continue. Did
you have a few beverages in the way to Ibrox?
No, I didn't actually. I didn't. No. So it was done that. I just thought, let's try the steak pie. It was very good.
Do you think that was one they made by mistake?
Maybe it was one that was meant to go into hospitality, and it's I don't know.
I think he was in the Blue Sky Lounge at half time.
Yeah, it must have been. It must have been Club 72, maybe, in there for a steak pie. I've had a few steak pies at Ibrox, and yeah, I wouldn't class them as what you said, Stuart. But anyway, listen, we've been talking chocolate, we've been talking pies. Let's get back to talking about Rangers. And Stuart, I've heard Brian's thoughts, and I'd like to get your thoughts on the weekend's game against Dundee, a 1-0 win. And again, I'll repeat myself. I've said this a few times, right? I don't think it was anywhere near as bad a performance as what it actually looked, if that makes sense. And I think that's true when you look at the reaction from supporters to the game.
Yeah, I agree with you. I thought we were in complete control of it. I know you like your stats, Martin, and I know the those watching love their stats. I read something today saying that Dundee had a 1% chance of winning that game based on how the game went. So I think that tells you something. Yeah, look, it should have been 3-4, possibly 5. So when you look at 1-0 and you're getting into that last 10 minutes, I think there's a wee bit of the PTSD comes back from things that we've seen in the past, and you start to worry. But actually, Liam Kelly had absolutely nothing to do during the game. I think the reason I'm a wee bit more positive about it is, yes, look, there's still concerns about the fact that at times we're taking the wrong option when we're in that final third, or our finishing just isn't good enough. But I think there's a marked difference from some of the earlier games in the season. So I'm thinking, Dundee United comes to mind in terms of the game at Tannadice. One chance we created and we scored it, thankfully, and then we hung on and we got the win. Dundee United at home, was a real struggle.
Do you think, Stuart, that we draw that game in the early parts of the season?
Yes, it's been so dominant, and actually the fact that Dundee didn't really do much, because I actually think we look a bit more solid in terms of defensively as well at the moment. I just mean that we are creating chances that we weren't previously creating. So I think we had a reliance earlier in the season where you were just hoping an individual was going to do something and score for you. There seems to be more the team working as a more of a kind of cohesive unit, I would say. And I think the chances that we're creating are more around, quick passing, 1-2s, one-touch stuff, and getting into good positions. So yes, there's still a frustration and maybe a nervousness that we're not converting the chances that we're creating, because that could come back to bite us. But I think if you compare it to certain games that we had earlier in the season, I think there's a marked difference in terms of how we're attacking and the quality of our attacking and the quality of the chances that we're creating.
Talking about the quality of the attacking, Brian, it seems to, for me anyway, I could be totally wrong, I usually am, but it seems to me that Czerny's goal's been kind of lost in the fact that it was only 1-0 and we hit the crossbar a few times. He actually, we've got very few players, I think, that can score that goal. And that's a red card. That is a red card for Bryant.
See, I coughed earlier and I had to put it on mute, so I didn't want to interrupt Stuart in his mid-flow. Yeah, I think purely because Czerny is so left-sided. I mean, he uses his right leg to stand on, and that is it. He never uses his right foot for
anything else. Who else done that, Brian? Who else done that?
David Cooper.
Not comparing the two, by the way. Just
no, not at all. Out. Not at all. But yeah, he's one of the few players in our squad that can do that, cutting from the right and finish it in the far corner. And this is the sort of new winger you get now. Whereas back when we were kids, it was a left footed on the left and a right foot on the right, crosses into the box, get to the byline, crosses. Now it's completely changed. They want these wide guys to cut in and either have a shot or lay it off to somebody. So that sort of aspect of the game is changed completely, and we don't have a lot of that in our on the right hand side especially, because we've struggled for a long time in that position. So I mean, and the worst thing is he's only on loan to us, so we're not even going to get to keep him. So we're gonna be all over this again in the summer, trying to find a right winger, because we don't know how Cortez is gonna work out. So yeah, he's one of the few, and he's very quick. Czerny's very quick, and that's one of the attributes that I like about him. He's when he gets ahead of steam, there's not many defenders can catch him.
No, and can I just say, sorry, Stuart, just 2 seconds, just before I'll let you finish. I just want to say a massive thank you to Stephen1977, who has become a member on YouTube. Thank you for the support, Stephen, especially at this time of year. I know how difficult it is for people, but the fact you're willing to help support the show is massively appreciated. And the Trying Scotsman, who gifted a Rangers Rabble membership. I've no idea who it went to, But however it went, congratulations, and I hope you enjoy the content and then want to stay a member. Like I say, we've got the EPL show live tonight at 9 p.m. Myself, Kenny, and Connor will be on that at 9 p.m. So I'm doing a bit overtime, and I'm trying to bring in more people all the time, and we're going to do more and more members stuff. I'm going to get back onto Stuart about you know who to try and get a member show reignited.
That's
hopefully
in the works. That's in the works.
It's in the works. Stuart does not let up. Nearly does.
No. So hopefully some positive news in that in the new year. Just on the goal one, and I'm probably the second biggest member of the Danilo fan club after his dad, who was sitting 2 blocks down from me on Saturday and was going absolutely tonto.
He's mental. He's absolutely mental.
Absolutely brilliant. By the way, he's the energy that he's got, and he's just loving life at the moment. But his boy, actually, don't underestimate the part that he plays in that goal. I don't want to turn this into a Dessers show, but I've got more confidence that Danilo plays that pass than I do Dessers in a way, and that's just because they're different players. I think also it's a wee bit goes under the radar because we're in this world now of VAR where even at Ibrox it was a really muted celebration because we were absolutely convinced that he was offside. And we were just waiting for that box signal from the referee to say that it was offside and no goal. So even at the ground, it just went under the radar a wee bit. But it was a really composed finish from Czerny. Actually, he took it well, and I thought it was a really good goal all round.
Yeah. To be fair, his dad was actually 1 row and maybe 6 or 7 seats to the left of me at Ross County, and he was going nuts the whole game there.
Mm-hmm.
Yes,
absolutely nuts the whole game. And then, of course, he scored a goal, and the fans were going nuts at the end. Singing the Danilo chant. His old man was just in heaven. He was loving life,
living his best life. Absolutely. Yeah. Watch. I mean, how good would it be to watch your boy at a massive club like Rangers? With the fan base that we've got, you would be at every game. The only problem is now he's going to get stopped all the time for pictures and all that, isn't he? Which I suppose he might like, he might not, I don't know. But yeah, there's a brilliant question here, by the way, from Odd Bob. Does the panel think the hype, talk, and reports of scouts from down south on Igamane, will that add pressure and expectation on him? And will his head go, and will he lose form? Now, that's a difficult question to answer, Brian, because I've never spoke to Igamane. I wouldn't imagine any of us three on this have ever spoke to Igamane. We don't know what his personality is like. But when you start to perform in Europe, which is where most of Rangers and Celtic's players are judged, not really judged in the Scottish League, and you start to then gather a name for yourself, I suppose at a young age it could add pressure. But again, that's a question that I don't think we could reasonably answer.
No, it's a difficult one at this stage.
Good question, but
it's a great question. But I mean, it's I suppose we would be only speculating in the sense that has it turned his head? You'd be surmising. His last couple of games, he hasn't scored. Oh, is that a reason? No, he's played a lot of football, considering he's virtually in the last few weeks been thrown into the team because, well, we had nobody else to sort of play, so Igamane had to play, and he's lit the first team up. So it's difficult, as I said. I think, as we said earlier this afternoon, Martin, we've got to be careful with Igamane. We've got to not, get on top of him and give him a hard time when things don't quite work out, because he's going to try things. He's a young kid. He's got a swagger about him. Everybody's seen it. He's done keepy ups on the touchline. He's done little tricks. He loves nutmegging players. So he's a young kid that's going to make mistakes in a game, and it's important that we support him to do those things. And if they don't come off, you shrug your shoulders and say, well, he tried something, fair enough, but don't get on top of him. And was there Everton scouts there? I don't know. It's maybe, I don't know. It's a very difficult one, that, but I would suggest that he's quite a level-headed kid, being, from his background. I would say he's quite a humble sort of young lad. So I would suggest that he's just happy playing football just now.
You've got to hope he's got a good team around him, good people around him, Martin, Brian. I think that will be important. He is still a young kid, but I agree with Brian. You get the sense from him, if somebody said, by the way, you're playing in the World Cup final tomorrow, he would just go to bed and have probably the best night's sleep that he's ever had. It doesn't look as if you're doing keepy-uppies against Tottenham, I don't think it seems that much phases him, but if he keeps up his performance levels, then that interest is going to build, and that's where you've got to hope that he's got a kind of good group of people around him, advising him and stuff like that, to just keep, because that can be a lot of pressure and stuff, going on it, and and if he is still performing at a really high level for us, there'll be disappointment from Rangers fans, because we don't want to lose him and all that. So that's another aspect and stuff. So Brian's right. We've just got to let him. He's came in. He's done really, really well. Let's just let him settle in. He's going to have games where he won't score, but I think he's doing more than enough at the moment to merit being in that team. And let's see what the future brings for him. But he seems a level-headed type of guy, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does. He absolutely does. Why is Martin's background blurred? Right, so it's 2 days from Christmas. This is the kind of spare room, if you like, that I do the shows in, and it is littered with, I was going to say a word there, but I don't want to get demonetized. It's littered with stuff that it wouldn't normally be littered with. I think that's the most middle-class thing I can possibly say. So that's why the background is absolutely blurred. I want to focus actually on Boxing Day. Brian, you spoke about this on the afternoon Rabble, so Stuart, I'll come to you first. There's a question I want to get to for John. It's more about the second, but before we even think about that, we obviously have to think of St Mirren and Motherwell first. And I don't even know the name of their stadium. I'm just going to call it Love Street because that's what I've always called it. I know it's not there anymore, but that's what it's getting called. Never been really an easy place to go, Stuart.
Yeah, it's not. You don't kind of associate us with us going there and winning really comfortably, do you? There's always been a bit of a kind of, and whether that's maybe just a perception that we have, and actually if you did go back, it's maybe been a bit, we might have had the odd result that's went against us, but generally we've been okay. But yeah, look, I think you guys mentioned it in the afternoon show that as we build up to the second means nothing if we don't get 6 points in the next 2 games. I think we're playing well enough to be able to do that. I don't see there being. I don't think we should be going there fearing a St Mirren side. I don't think we should be fearing. Maybe not in the same way that we potentially might have been thinking about it. Maybe 6 weeks ago, when performance levels weren't where they are at the moment. I don't see the manager altering much. I think we'll still go there with a fairly attacking team. It'll be interesting to see what he does in terms of if he starts to how he freshens things up. So could you see a Barron coming in for Raskin? At some point Raskin's going to need a wee break because he's doing a hell of a lot at the moment. So, but I would like to think that what we would still do is we're still playing in the same way in terms of Barron being the sitter, and you've got a Igamane still adding that extra kind of layer rather than 2 sixes. So, look, I think we should be going there with confidence. I think we're playing well at the moment, and creating chances, like I said previous answer. So, we shouldn't be going to St Mirren and Boxing Day having any concerns. But They've got to get the job done because, like I say, you know, what was a really good weekend for us there, that could very quickly go out the window if we drop points.
And on the other side, it could be a really, really, really important 10 days if everything goes right.
100%.
Massive, massive. Brian, I've saved that. I'm bringing that up. Just calm down, Brian. I want to focus on Stuart's point there, Brian, about Raskin and about, you know, rotation. We kind of spoke about it this afternoon. But there's going to have to be some rotation before the second, because you would like to think the manager will put out what he thinks is his strongest team on the second, and I think we would all agree that Raskin is part of that.
Yeah.
So you have to look at St Mirren and Motherwell and think, right, okay, what one does Raskin not start effectively?
Absolutely. And I think the absence of Barron in the last couple of games is, you know, since the cup final in that game as well, I think that's been much needed for him, because I think he was getting to the point of being burnt out as well. He had played an awful lot of games in a row, and, you know, played 90 minutes pretty much every week. So it was he was getting close to the old burnout. So I'm kind of glad that we've got to the stage of, you know, Barron having the rest now. We've got Raskin on the verge as well. So as I said earlier today, there'll be a few selections for St Mirren that if they start against St Mirren, they won't play against Motherwell. Oh, sorry, they won't start against Motherwell, because he'll.
Sorry, on you go, Brian.
Because obviously he'll be looking, you know, the Motherwell games immediately before the Celtic one, so he'll be looking at that Motherwell game as, I'm not saying he's wanting to play a weakened team, but he'll certainly be a bit more prudent with his selections on the Motherwell game than he will do with the St Mirren game, I would suggest.
But then you could actually argue that Motherwell are in far better form than St Mirren, and you would actually prefer to have a better team out against Motherwell. Whatever way you look at it, Stuart, it's an absolutely colossal week for Clermont.
Absolutely is. And just finishing up on the kind of, it's just don't know, but it's the role that we're asking Raskin to do at the moment. You know, he's having to put in an absolute power of work. So, you know, at some point, and the manager is very big on his, you know, sports science. You do wonder that there's got to get to a point where he might be getting that kind of, was it red level or something that they talk about? So, yeah, it'll be an interesting one. And I agree with you. I think maybe the Motherwell games maybe the harder, say that now, of the two. But yeah, look, if you get 3 wins in the next 3 games, the mood of this support, which has improved, but not okay.
It's improved.
It has improved, and I think we talked about it last Monday, Martin, about the fact that leaving Hampden last Sunday, there was nobody going absolutely tonto, or you know, there's still some people who genuinely believe that Clermont isn't the man to take us forward, and that's fine. But you weren't hearing a huge amount of that, because I think as fans you can recognise that there has been improvement, that these players are playing for the manager. I don't think there's any doubt about that. I think they're giving them his all. So just imagine what that could be like, you know, if you can start to go into that really busy January period on the back of 3 wins. And yes, if you do bring it down to 6 points, now that's still a massive gap. But all of a sudden, there's just a bit of a shift in the momentum there. And that's all you can ask for at the moment. We've put ourselves in such a poor position, is that can you just start to change the mood, change the narrative, and maybe shift that momentum ever so slightly, and just start asking some questions. And then who knows?
Yeah, but that's when you're talking on the premise, Stuart, that they're definitely going to win their 2 games. That if they drop more points before our game, then that Old Firm game becomes even bigger. If that's even a possibility.
Agreed. Yes, absolutely. But you know, the manager, I'm sure, he will start to be and ask questions about the second. He'll give that very boring answer, but it's the right answer. It's one game at a time. You know, we have got to get St Mirren dealt with. We've got to get Motherwell dealt with. hopefully we can convert some of these chances, you know, so that actually the games aren't tight and in the balance, and we can maybe make some substitutions and even do rotation within games. That would be of a real benefit to us. And then the second will take care of itself. You know, that will, at that point, I think, you know, that if they were to drop points or if it's still status quo, you know, the build up to that will take care of it. But we've got to get through these next two games. They're absolutely huge. And keep that momentum going, because it just feels as if something potentially building.
Yeah, 100%. And again, but I'll repeat it, it will mean nothing if we don't win. And especially if we lose, then I don't even know what the reaction is going to be like to that, to be honest. But Brian, how big actually, in the context of the time of year that we're at and the amount of games that we've got, and if you look at January, the amount of games in January, how big just before Boxing Day, the 28th or 27th, and the New Year Old Firm, was Celtic dropping points?
Very big. It really was, because I think everybody, certainly everybody I spoke to, didn't really see that result coming yesterday. Nobody expected Dundee United to get anything. So anytime they drop points is a big bonus for us, but it's even more now because they had a decent lead. They had an 11-point lead. It's down to 9 now. But as Stuart said, and I think we said in this, you know, we've all said it, if we don't take 6 points for the next two games, St Mirren and Motherwell, then the second's irrelevant, because it'll be even harder to win the league if we don't get 6 points out of this too. So it's nice that they've dropped points, but at the same time, we've got to do our business now. We've got to get 6 points in the next two games, and then we've got to get a result on the second. No questions asked. If this team and the manager have got any aspirations of winning the league, then we have to win the next two and then win the 2nd of January. And end of. We've got to get 9 points out of the next three.
Yeah, we do. Graham, thank you very much for joining as a channel member on YouTube, my friend.
And
thank
just on
you
that,
so
and
much.
see the momentum thing. You're then going into a January transfer window as well.
You're going into a January transfer window, and you're also going into about 160 games in January.
Yes, and you know, and if we can, and nobody knows what the budget is and what wheeling dealing, but I'll be amazed if we don't bring. I think we know we need a centre half. You know, I'd be amazed if there isn't 2 to 3 come in, and we try and move again, whether that be loans, and we try and move other people out. You know, can you just strengthen that squad, give it again another boost in quality, freshness, etc., and then you see where it takes you. And ultimately, the way I look at between now and the end of the season, it's about starting to just try and lay down some markers, so that even if it doesn't go our way this year, that actually you're giving them something to think about and giving the fans some optimism going into the start of next season. I know I'm going way ahead, but that there should be targets like that. You know, they should have sat down and said, well, it's 11 points now, and if we can't win the league, we at least want to dramatically reduce that points tally, so that actually they're not winning it at a canter, and it does go into the split, and you know, and they've got to win some big games to get over the line. We've got to start putting some pressure and just, let's say, altering the momentum ever so slightly. But I think January could be big for us. A lot of people talking about, you know, Shanklin coming and stuff like that. Who knows what's going to be happening?
Well, that is the rumour going about, in it, that he's signing a pre-contract in January, which doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to get him in January, because you still need to pay Hearts, whatever Hearts
And
want.
can I just say, I deliberately watched Clermont at the end of the Dundee game just to see how he was going to deal with Lyle Cameron. And every other Dundee player, there was a handshake. Lyle Cameron, there was a handshake and a hug, and there was some words said. So would not be surprised if he is on his way to Ibrox in January as well, because Dundee won't just sit tight. They'll want, even if it is a Glenn Kamara, 50,000 or whatever, they'll want something for him.
Yeah.
I deliberately watched that, and I just thought it was, you know, could be nothing, but seemed a bit strange.
I mean, it'll be interesting to see what happens with Lyle Cameron. He's certainly a player that, put it this way, if we're getting Lyle Cameron, then we're not getting Lennon Miller. I think that's safe to say. And I
We're
think
not
after
getting Lennon Miller.
I think after January I can let go of the Lennon Miller chat.
Will you though? Will you?
No,
It depends. It depends on where he goes, Stuart. If he stays in if he moves to Glasgow, then and it's not us, then I'll definitely never speak about him again. Even if he scores a winner in an Old Firm game, he's still not getting mentioned because he'll have broke my heart. But listen, I think that will do us for the Monday the 23rd. My dog's telling me it's time up. Yeah, my heart did just break. Well, do you know what? If he comes, he comes. If he doesn't, he doesn't. I'm not sitting here buzzing for Shanklin to come in right now with the start of the season he's had at Hearts, to be brutally honest with you. I'm not sitting here going, yes, we're getting Lawrence Shanklin. I'm just not. So we'll wait and see what happens there. Brian, thank you.
Thank you very much. As I said in the women's show, I hope everybody's a good Christmas and a good New Year.
Yes, well, we're back tomorrow afternoon, folks, just to remind you. But Stuart, thank you very much.
Yeah, no problem. Just for the Sniper T-shirt wise, got it a couple of weeks ago. Absolute bargain on the Rangers store. So if it's still there, go and get it. But yes, just like to wish everybody a Merry Christmas. And yeah, fingers crossed our team do the business over the next 10 days or so. That would be great.
Be very nice, wouldn't it? Be very, very nice. And for Lockeye, I wish all at the Rabble a very Merry Crimble. Thanks a lot, lads. And we at the Rabble wish everybody who watches, and even people who don't watch and won't hear this, which is pretty pointless, but even if you don't watch and you never hear this, I wish you all a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Like I say, but we're not going anywhere. We're back tomorrow, 12:30. We're back tonight at 9 for members for the first ever EPL show. And then I think we'll maybe do a wee members show tomorrow night as well at some point. And then it's Christmas Day. So we'll have one show live on the channel on Christmas Day. That's it, but that's all I can promise. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Thank you for your support. Please like, share, and subscribe and all that good stuff. If you can, you're in a position to, and you want the extra content, then consider joining as a member. The links for which are in the description. Brian, I have to go, but what you're laughing at, can you say?
Blue Shadow thinks I've been up the Dava getting securing my venison for Christmas Day, but no, I've already secured my dinner. Sorry?
Venison for Christmas?
I remember I said I enjoyed good venison for Christmas dinner.
Away you go. That's a 6-month verbal turned into a 2-year written. That's what that is. But yeah, folks, if you don't watch us tomorrow, I sincerely hope you have a fantastic Christmas and New Year. We're back for all the games. We're not really missing many days, if any at all. So we'll speak to you all soon, folks. And until then, stay safe.